November the 16th, 2022. The time is 12:02. We're going to go ahead and start with a roll call. Here.
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 Present.
Present.
Director of Operations, Pharr1.
Need a motion to excuse Mr. Martinez, Mr. Campero.
I make a motion to excuse Mr. Martinez and Mr. Campero.
One motion for both?
Yes.
We have a motion by Mr. Hernandez, second by Mr. Beas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation by Luis.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Dear God, we appreciate everything you have done in our lives. Thank you for sowing these seeds in our hearts and for allowing us to serve others. Please strengthen us with your will and power, and when we are weak and tired, please guide us and teach us the best ways to do things whenever we are puzzled. Assist us in honoring you through our work and help us to avoid distractions that would lead us astray. In your name, may the work we do be fruitful. Amen.
We're going to move on to item 2, which is the Director's Administrative Report. And we're going to start with line item A, Crossing and Revenues Report for September and October 2022.
Good afternoon, Chairman, board members, city officials. For the record, Pharr1, Director of Operations at the Pharr Bridge. I'd like to present the crossings and revenues for the month of September. This is the last month of fiscal year 2021-2022. And on page number 3, we have the car crossings at the Pharr International Bridge. These are southbound cars crossing into Mexico. For the month of September, we crossed a total of 40,919 cars, which represents an increase of 11,662, or an increase of 39.86%. Sorry. Total from October to September, we crossed a total of 469,339 vehicles, which represents an increase of 10,110 cars, or an increase of 2.20% for fiscal year 2021-2022 compared to last year. Also, I'd like to present other crossings from other ports of entry for fiscal year 2021. The month of September, we had Brownsville, Gateway, Veterans, and Free Trade, an increase of 79,911, 37% increase. Eagle Pass, an increase of 66,543, 38%. Laredo Bridge, an increase of 105,415, 38%. McAllen Hidalgo and Ansel Duas Bridge, combination of both bridges, an increase of 106,537, 47% increase. Progreso Bridge, an increase of 2,229, 5.59% increase. Donna Bridge, an increase of 15,965, an increase of 43.93%. The Pharr Bridge, we had an increase of 11,662, an increase of 39.86%. Page number 4, we have the truck crossings for the Pharr Bridge. This is trucks that are crossing from the U.S. to Mexico. Total crossing for the month of September, we crossed a total of 61,977, which represents a decrease of 1,280, or a decrease of 2.2%. Overall, from October to September, the entire fiscal year, we crossed a total of 751,385, which represents an increase of 31,091 trucks, or an increase of 4.32% during the fiscal year 2021-2022 compared to last year's same months. I'm going to go to now to the month of October on page number 3. For the month of October, on page number 3, On the car crossing, we crossed a total of 43,454 cars, which represents an increase of 9,827, or an increase of 29.22%. These are on cars. Also, I'd like to share with you the car crossings from other ports of entry. We have Gateway, Veterans, and Free Trade, combination of all three bridges. They crossed a total of 79,474, which represents an increase of 36%. Eagle Pass, they had an increase of 58,576, an increase of 31%. Laredo Bridge, they had an increase of 89,945, an increase of 30%. McAllen Hidalgo and Ansaldúas, a combination of both bridges, they had an increase of 103,980, or an increase of 43%. Progreso Bridge, they had an increase of 2,743, an increase of 6.82%. Donna Bridge, they had an increase of 16,006 cars, which represents an increase of 42.41%. Pharr Bridge, again, we had an increase of 9,827, which represents an increase of 29.22% for the month of October. On page number 4, we have the truck crossings. These are trucks that are traveling from U.S. to Mexico. For the month of October, we crossed a total of 63,903 trucks, which represents a decrease of 35 trucks, or a decrease of 0.05% for the month of October. Also like to share with you the other crossings from other ports of entry for the month of October. We have Veteran Los Tomates. They had an increase of 330 trucks, 2% increase. Free Trade Los Indios, they had a decrease of 97 trucks, which represents a decrease of 8%. Combination of both bridges, they had an increase of 233 trucks, or an increase of 1%. Eagle Pass, they had an increase of 377 trucks, an increase of 2%. Laredo Bridge, they had an increase of 20,770 trucks, which represents an increase of 9%. Pharr Bridge, again, a decrease of 35 trucks. Progreso Bridge, they had a decrease of 1,415 trucks, which represents a decrease of 25%. Ansaldúas Bridge, they had an increase of 352 trucks, which represents an increase of 14%. On page number 5, we have the northbound truck crossing. These are trucks that are coming from Mexico to the U.S. for the month of October. We crossed a total of 59,862 trucks, which represents an increase of 4,773, or an increase of 8.66%. On the agriculture side, we crossed a total of 17,937, which represents a total crossings of 30% of all the imports that are coming from Mexico to the U.S. As well, on the agriculture side, the Pharr International Bridge import lot show an increase of 1,771 trucks more than last year for the same month, or an increase of 10.96%. On page number 6, we have a combination of both southbound and northbound crossings for the month of October. A combination of northbound and southbound, we crossed a total of 123,765 trucks, which represents an increase of 4,738, or an increase of 3.98% for the month of October. On page number 7, we have the revenues. Total revenue collected for the month of October, we collected $1,547,162, which represents an increase of $129,011 compared to last year's same month, or an increase of 9.10%. On page number 8, we have the crossings by axles. Total car crossing, we crossed a total of 43,452. On the 2 axles, 3,279. 3 axles, 4,808. 4 axles, 1,387. 5 axles, 49,933. 6 axles, 4,218. Mobile home, we only crossed 1. Wide loads, 131. Special crossings, 48, which equals a total of 107,357 crossings for the month of October. That includes cars and trucks. Chairman, that concludes my report for the month of September and October as well. If you have any questions.
You have one, Fred.
Yes, sir.
The same month from last year, we're showing up more of a profit, but we're showing maybe a few trucks less than what
Yes.
were from last year. That's due to the new weights, axles, the way they're being charged, or what do you?
No, we haven't
contribute
increased the revenues on the trucks, on the axle, we haven't. It's
Okay.
just, keep in mind that We have about 10% of the companies that cross every month. We let them cross this month, 1 month. For example, Trancasa, they cross for the month of September, and they pay everything that they cross in September. They pay on October.
Oh, okay.
Everything that they cross on September, they'll pay everything on October. There's about 10% of those companies that we do them like that, just to help them out.
So that's where the
That's one of the
difference
reasons why we're up as well.
So that's-
And
that's
also, keep in mind, there was an increase on the cars as well. And there was an increase on the 6-axle as well,
On the one, I'm sorry?
on the 6-axle.
Ah, okay. All right.
There was an increase about close to, compared to last year, same month, and last month as well, there was an increase about almost 2,000 more trucks than last year on the 6-axle. So those pay a little bit more than the 5-axle as well. Yes.
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? No. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
We'll continue with line item B, which is the finance report for September and October.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Board, City Administrators, we do have Carla Saavedra, City Finance Director, for a more comprehensive report. I know we didn't get to meet back in October for our first meeting of the actual fiscal year, so this is going to be the closing of September of last fiscal year.
Good afternoon, Carla Saavedra. Just to give you a snapshot, I guess the important thing to remember, this is the end of the fiscal year. These numbers are unaudited numbers, but it's just for you to see the cash flow, the revenues, and the expenses. On page 1, it's pretty much what you want to see. Revenues for 21-22 overall are 4% higher compared to last year. We did amend the budget during the fiscal year, and we increased it, so we were hoping to hit to $17 million, but we actually ended up making a little bit less. Again, it's still higher compared to last year. We just were, I guess, very optimistic when we amended the budget I believe in June, when we did the amendment. For the expenses, there's a total of $18 million. Keep in mind that this is the first year that the bridge has debt service payments, which this, I guess, for the total of the year was $3.6 million new compared to last year because of the issuance of the bonds for the bridge expansion and for the DAF FY15 and 16. So if you compare the expenses to the revenues, the expenses are higher than the revenues, but it's mainly due to these debt service payments. And of course, it transfers out. The $10.5 million is in total what ended up being transferred to the city of Pharr.
10 point what, I'm sorry?
The
10.5?
10.5?
10.5.
10.5 million in total. So if you take out from the formula the $10.5 million and the $3.5 million in the debt service, you only have the remaining as true operational expenses, and that's what we want to look at. Keep in mind that the bridge has always had its contingency reserve fund in case of any emergencies. As of right now, there hasn't been any need to deep into it, so it's good. We're hoping to recuperate, I guess, any cash outflow that it's negative in the next couple of months. The next pages are pretty much just a summary of the budget versus actual, nothing major. There hasn't been much activity for the bridge construction in progress, well, at least for the bridge expansion. For the FY15 and 16, I know there's been activity, so we're almost there. And then page number 3 is just the amortization schedule that Mr. Campero asked me a couple of months ago to include it. This is so that you don't forget, I guess, that the bridge now has this commitment on an annual basis. And these are the debt service payments that I was mentioning to you. And we're pretty much committed until 2041.
I have a question. On the adjustment of the budget, do you know what the percentage was compared to the budget, or was it an amount, the one you did in June?
We did an amount. We did $800,000 that we added to the original budget.
So on the original budget, we would have hit the original.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then the other question I have was the money from the bonds that you haven't, that we have not spent due to the construction not being started. Is that invested in something that offsets our interest payments?
Yes.
Or does it have to sit in a bank account just?
It has
not-
to be sit on a bank account because of the liquidity. Of course, we always, try to get the best interest, but at the same time, having it accessible. So
Yes.
we cannot invest it long-term, so we have it in our regular depository account.
Okay.
We are getting a good return though, so we are making some money out of it,
Okay.
especially because it's a big amount sitting there. So I think this year we reported like almost $300,000 in interest revenue.
Okay. Have any other questions?
Not at the moment.
No? Oh.
And then that's it. I guess we'll have more final numbers and then we'll present October in the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you, Carla.
We'll go ahead and move to line item C, which is the engineer's report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, city administrators, we do have Ruben Alfaro, our city engineer, to give you a comprehensive report on the status of our projects. I can tell you right now that one of our projects, DAP 15, will be concluded at the end of this year, by December. So we're very excited about that because it's been a few years, some years in the making. So I'll leave it to Ruben.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board, Ruben Alfaro, City Engineer. I'm going to give you an update on the construction that's been going on. For the second BSIF exit, we have relocation of the sanitary sewer pipelines and electrical conduits have been completed. Next picture. We also did the installation of the inspection booths. That's been completed as well. On the northbound lanes, we did the installation of the super wide load gate. It's been completed as well. And the installation of the chain link fence and sliding gate, that's been completed as well. We also performed installation of the dense glass exterior sheeting at the primary canopy. That's been completed as well. And there was some additional pictures, but let me give you the status. We also did some stucco application for the primary canopy, so that's ongoing. And installation of sodding along the project, that's ongoing as well. For this contract, time to date, it's 770 days, which we're at 82%. And we have placed in amount 3.9 million, which is 88% of the funds. We do have a final inspection scheduled for tomorrow with CBP and GSA. And we expect the project closeout on December 8th, as per the schedule. And then that's the same thing. We have the same dates for the northbound lane expansion, but the place to date is 3.2 million, which is 93%, almost 93%. For DAP 16, the consultant has reviewed the comments that we received from TxDOT, and they performed corrections to the 100% plan set. We received those on October 17th, and we submitted the 100% plans to TxDOT on November 3rd. And we are scheduled to advertise, that one says January, but we're scheduled to advertise on March of 2033. And then for the International Bridge Expansion Project, we received approval of amendment number 6 by City Commission on October 17th to perform additional boring for the drill shafts. With the actual boring that we had, we weren't getting the required strength from the soil, so we had to go deeper with the tests. And the consultant is continuing to work on the 95% plans for TxDOT to middle, and the environmental studies are ongoing as well. So as you can see, the recent activity, we completed the terrestrial and the underwater study, and we're expecting to submit 95% on December as well. So hopefully we can get the 100% done by January. And we would just be pending the environmental approvals. And that's all I have.
Any questions?
How's the time frame? And, we're on time with those both
Yes,
projects?
yes,
Okay.
we're on time
doing
with,
good?
with both projects,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may also add on the projects, one of the things is, as we know, Mexico got started about a year prior to us getting started. So we've been meeting with the different delegations, with the different dependencies at the federal level in Mexico, and we're putting together a meeting for the beginning of January. As a matter of fact, we have a conference call pending with them for the 23rd of November. We're getting everything together, gearing up, because they're about to start construction. They want to start construction as soon as January of next year on the Mexican side. They're getting mobilized. They have the funding in place, as we've been discussing for the past several months. They have the construction company in place. They don't have to go through a lot of the ins and outs that we have to go through, so it's been a little bit easier working with Mexico. So we're excited about that, because again, that's going to be groundbreaking for it's an international bridge. It's one bridge, so we're ramping up for that sometime in January of this coming year. So as soon as we have more information, we'll let you know, not just on the meeting, but on the actual ceremony itself.
On the projects that you're about to finish, Luis, are those going to be able to be used right away, or do you still have to go through another process with GSA to, like, as part of the acceptance, or the fact that it's already done?
Yeah, we've
they
been
can be
checking things
utilized
off
by-
our list to ensure that we are able to get to open the actual project, for example, the 2 commercial entry lanes and the 2 exits. One of the things that it was contingent upon was the BSIF connector. That's the TxDOT project. We were under the understanding that that project was not going to open till June of next year, but just recently we got word that as soon as January, February timeframe of this coming year, we'll be able to open that up. Meaning, once you have your new primaries and your new exits, you'll be able to use that gate to gate for any certified conveyances, anything that falls within the CTPAT certified conveyances or supply chain. So yes, so it's not going to be too much of a lag time. By the time we conclude this, it's again final punch list and close out. As you saw, it's December 8th for DAP 15. If we get the BSIF open by somewhere between January and February of next year, there won't be much of a lag time. But that's one of the things. That's one of that's the good news. We're not going to have too much time in between.
I don't know if you got anything else.
On my director's report, on item 2D, nothing more on the projects. Just I wanted to discuss a few things on my report. So this is going to be for the next meeting. I know we do have Ezequiel Ordóñez here today to give you a quarterly report, but we're going to leave this because by then we'll have a little bit more information, especially of some of the events that are taking place this month, and we wanted to round up everything to finalize things for the end of the year. But a couple of things that I wanted to bring up to your attention. So tomorrow at the Pharr International Bridge, just to kind of, again, display the fact that we've been working with Mexico for so many years. We have a working relationship. Mexico is our #1 trade partner. We're putting together a meeting of sorts to sign a memorandum of understanding. We call this a global entities partnership, and this basically entails that we're partnering with this company, with this association called ANIERM. ANIERM stands for the Asociación Nacional de Importadores Exportadores de la República Mexicana. So they basically represent a big membership base of importers and exports from Mexico. We've done something similar in Monterrey with COMCE, another type similar association. So we're going to have this meeting tomorrow at the bridge. There's a lot of people that have been invited from the association from Mexico. The actual president of the association will be here. And again, this is just to continue our partnership with Mexico, to continue to fortify our relationship and for more economic opportunities in the future. So we're really looking forward to that. That's going to be tomorrow at 11:30 at the Pharr International Bridge. We're going to have a full house. And then number 2, we had our Trucks Giving. That was our first annual Trucks Giving event last week. It was something that Fred and Vanessa came up with. We liked the idea, so we ran with it. And guess what? We had over 75 people in attendance. And it was fully sponsored, so it didn't come out of our pockets. So we want to appreciate and actually thank our sponsors for putting this together for us, for allowing us to put this together. Everybody had a great time. Now we just have to figure out where the next one's going to be for next year, because our space is limited. Even though our conference room is a lot larger, now we're going to have to figure out what are we going to do for next year. But it was well received. We love the name, Trucks Giving. Nobody's doing anything like that. And again, that's just to, again, fortify our relationship, not just with the Truckers Association, but also, you know, our customs brokers, our different industries that we cater to. So we're very excited about that and what it means for the future. And then the next thing, as we all know, and we're already around the corner, December the 9th, that is our annual Customer Appreciation or Christmas Posada, where we celebrate Christmas, but we also celebrate the start of the new year. And we've been doing this pachanga of sorts for the last 4 or 5 years there at the bridge. And, you know, we have live music, we have a lot of food, and our customers truly enjoy it. We do it for them in appreciation for their continued support at the Pharr International Bridge. So we can't wait for that. That's going to be on December the 9th, kicking off at 6 o'clock, live music and the works. So again, Cabrito, Al Pastor, you name it, we're going to have it there. And again, just wrapping up the year, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things we're juggling. Aside from the projects, our relationships with Mexico, we continue to push the envelope when it comes to our lobbying efforts and marketing efforts. We sat down this morning with the folks from the Asociación de Agentes Aduanales de Reynosa, and we had a very fruitful conversation for a couple of hours. They're going to be there tomorrow, and they got some other ideas up their sleeve. Again, just making sure that we continue to do what we do best, which is to promote and foster trade.
Any other questions?
Real quick.
Yes, sir.
I know we've been working on doing more lanes coming in from Mexico to Pharr on the CBP import lots. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
Now going out, as far as I know, there are 2 lanes. Is that right?
That is correct. So we
going
have.
out. Probably you're doing something. Are you doing something to increase the going out lanes of the import lot? Going before the trooper, you know, inspection.
Sure. So with this project, the DAP 15 project, what that entails is the 2 new primary lanes and the 2 new exit lanes. Those 2 new lanes are also called the second BSIF exits. And that's the one we were discussing right now, where we're going to allow our certified conveyances, CTPAT conveyances, to go gate to gate. So what that's going to do, in speaking with CBP a few months back, I believe that's going to increase our capacity inside the import lot by about 30%, just by having that dedicated lane. Obviously, that does not give us yet the dedicated lane or the fast lane coming in from Mexico to the U.S., not even to the halfway point of the bridge. But once we build a second span, we will have a dedicated fast lane or up to 2 dedicated fast lanes all the way from Mexico to the United States. So that's going to be a huge plus, because that's going to give you your benefit of your CTPAT and your FAST certification. But yes, sir, that's going to be the new exit. Those are 2 exits there, and then the additional exits that we've had there forever, that we've had there since day one. Right. Those 2 exits were east to west. Now they're going to be south to north. And they're also going to allow the oversized loads, like your big Caterpillar trucks, to actually traverse through there and make the turnaround and then connect to the BSIF connector. So, yes. So we have 4 now. Instead of 2 exit lanes, we're going to have 4.
I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, Luis, with a traffic system, we'll be able to, and with the expansion, we'll be able to change lanes according to the needs of
Absolutely.
the traffic.
So when we put the studies together for the bridge expansion on both sides of the border, we ran several traffic studies. So what this is going to do, once we have the bridge expansion and the connector lanes from one bridge to the next, because we have to understand there's going to be a separation, we're going to be able to have more flexibility for traffic flow, depending on if there's a contingency in place, depending on how Mexico is working, depending on what's going on the U.S. side. Hopefully by then we won't have some of the issues that we have now with like your ACE system or the DODA or PITA system in Mexico, and it'll flow freely. But you know, that's always wishful thinking, and we wish in a perfect world it would work that way. But I think for us, yes, we will allow more flexibility to move traffic however we see fit for more efficiency.
I just want to go back real quick.
Yes, sir.
I meant to ask you a question. I didn't when you were talking about the projects. I know Larry asked, you know, if we're on schedule compared to Mexico. Obviously, we're not. We're a little behind. And aside from the fact that they started earlier than us, the other benefit that they have is a lot of the stuff that they're putting in place, or the construction, it doesn't have to go into any bidding because of the way they have structured their contracts. The guy that operates the bridge actually has a contract to maintain the bridge.
Correct.
And now they're attaching the contract to build it. And as far as we know, or was explained to us, the idea behind it is that if you're gonna have the concession for the next 20, 30 years and the maintenance, well, you're gonna build a better bridge because you don't wanna go back and repair it all these times and cost you money. That's the idea behind it, and that's why they're able to kinda accelerate faster than us in the construction process, and there's no bidding process, because they're gonna build it themselves. Just
Yes, sir, that is accurate.
as a side note of why we're,
And
there's a spread between us and them on the project.
Correct. And that's a good point because, as you mentioned, so if we're not aware, so Capufe used to run the concession or the operations for the tolls coming in from Mexico to the U.S. It's been taken over by Coconal. Coconal is not just the concessionaire, but it's also the construction company. And it's a construction company that's been around for about 100 years. Under the new ownership, it's going for about 50 years now. And we've been in constant communication with them, so we understand that's the way it's working. So yes, it's a very privileged situation for us on the Mexico side. We just wish things would be accelerated a little bit faster on our end. But we are working with our different delegations at the federal level, state level, through the U.S. to ensure that we meet our requirements in a faster time frame. We know that there's a timeline, but we also like to consider that there's two timelines. It's our timeline, and then there's the federal government timeline.
You have any other questions? No. I don't know if you got anything else, Luis.
No, sir.
We go to item 3, which is administrative, and we need a motion for the approval of the minutes for September the 21st, 2022.
Make a motion.
A motion by Mr. Hernandez, second by Mr. Reyes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. At this time, in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, Section .071 to .087, the Pharr International Bridge Board hereby gives notice that it will now meet in a closed executive session to discuss the items listed in the public portion of the meeting agenda. The time now is 12:34 p.m. We continue with administrative line item B.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, city administrators, item 3B, administrative discussion and action, if any, on renewal of Transportation Intermediaries Association, TIA, membership dues for $700.
I'll make a motion.
A motion by Mr. Hernandez. Second. Second by Mr. Beas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 3C, discussion and action, if any, on renewing the Rio Grande Valley Partnership Chamber of Commerce membership for $2,500.
Make a motion to approve.
So we have a motion by Mr. Hernandez, second by Mr. Beas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Item 3D, discussion and action, if any, on 2023 International Fresh Produce Association corporate membership for $2,305.
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
A motion, Mr. Hernandez, second, Mr. Reyes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Item 3E, discussion and action, if any, on 2023 National Customs Brokers and Forwarders Association of America, NCBFAA membership for $850.
Make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Hernandez. Second by Mr. Beas. All in favor, say aye.
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 Item 3F, discussion and action, if any, on 2023 National Customs Brokers and Forwarders Association of America membership directory for $2,000 and $679.
Make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Hernandez. I second. All in favor? Aye.
And finally, 3G, discussion and action, if any, on proposal from Taller de Infografía y Fotografía Digital, otherwise known as TIFF, on Phase 1 videos or short films for bridge promotional purposes for $36,000.
I motion.
No second.
Mr. Hernandez seconds. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And we just need a motion to adjourn. But before we adjourn, for whoever's here, we want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. And, thank you for coming all the way over here. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
So move.
We have a motion by Mr. Hernandez, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.